The man above, seeing the bag full of gold, said, "Let's pull up the bag first, then I'll pull you up." The man inside the pit, fearing that his buddy would abandon him and keep all the gold, climbed into the bag himself, telling him to pull it up. Sure enough, he understood his buddy well. The man in white carried the bag of gold on his back and ran home without looking back. When he reached the safety of the forest, the man in green finally climbed out and scolded him. Then he suggested they sleep first and continue in the morning. The man in white thought his friend was being generous and had forgiven him. However, his friend was only waiting for him to fall asleep so he could steal the gold and keep it all to himself. When the man in white woke up, he sharpened a tree branch into a whip handle and pulled a thread from his pants to use as a whip. He then started imitating the sound of an ox. Hearing this from afar, the man in green thought an ox cart was coming. He was exhausted from carrying the gold so far and was happy that he could catch a ride. But instead of a cart, it was his buddy coming after him. The man in white said, "Since neither of us can outsmart the other, let's just get some rest and split the gold evenly in the morning." Seeing how sincere he was and feeling quite exhausted himself, the man in green decided to rest. Once he was fast asleep, his buddy placed a stone under his head, picked up a bag of gold, and ran back home. He burst through the door, panting, and called his wife over. He told her to put the gold in a chest and then take a hoe to bury him in a graveyard, so others would think he had died. To prevent him from suffocating underground, his wife covered him with only a thin layer of soil. Then she returned home, lit 2 candles, and wept loudly at the table. Meanwhile, the man in green had also woken up. Seeing the stone beside him, he immediately ran to his buddy's house. After investigating the situation, he felt his friend's death was too sudden. Something wasn't right. Pretending to be deeply saddened, he asked the wife for a hoe, saying that he had missed the funeral but could at least help tidy up the grave. When they reached the graveyard, instead of digging into the burial spot, the man in green began hoeing the nearby soil, just like an ox plowing a field. Hearing this from inside the grave, the buried man panicked, thinking it was an ox plowing the land. He shouted, "Go away, don't dig me out, or my buddy will find me." His buddy had already found him. In the end, the 2 buddies realized that neither could outwit the other, so they had no choice but to go home and split the gold evenly. Have you ever been tricked by a close friend?